Just 3 days after this accused shooter shot a little boy, he walks free, making bond on Tuesday. It has this family angry and confused.
And I'm trying to figure out how he got a bond that was so low for trying to kill my kid.
Arnold Daniel trying to figure out why Ryan Lee Wen is out of jail after allegedly shooting his son Kobe.
He tried to hit me with a sledgehammer, but that's not gonna work because I'm too fast.
So then what did he do?
Got a gun. Boom. Shot me right here.
It's all on video Saturday afternoon on Candlewood Lane. You'll see kids playing, hear a gunshot, then Kobe realizes he's hit. Lee Wen allegedly fired through his front window. The bullet went in Kobe's arm and out the other side.
He's bleeding! He got shot! Kobe got shot! Kobe got shot! Police!
Did it hurt?
Yes.
You point to it? Show us where it's at.
Right now, he's not even processing exactly what happened. You know, he don't realize how close he came to not being here. But I realize it.
29-year-old Lee Wen is charged with assault with intent to murder. He's apparently had issues with neighbors in the past, and this time, Dad Arnold suspects Lee Wen was mad. Kobe's bike was in his yard.
I'm irate, really. I mean, I can't function, and I don't know what to do.
A Washtenaw County judge gave him a $10,000 cash bond, which he made Tuesday. This is him walking out, picked up by family. The prosecutor's office shocked at the low bond. They're filing an emergency motion to get it changed. A judge's order not to return home, but it's a piece of paper, says Arnold.
I'm scared for my family. You know, but I'm scared for them because I don't know what he's capable of.
Reporting in Ypsilanti, Jessica Dupnack, Fox 2 News.
Help? Are you okay? Do you want to give us your name on the?
Yeah, my name is Jeanette K. Grody. My date of birth is 9/13/78.
Hey, way to be part of the solution. Good job.
Come fucking arrest me.
Good job.
I'm first, not color, race, or sex.
What's your name?
This is 9/70. My name is Jeanette Grody. Reporting to the police. I will pay for damages if you want me to. Fuck all of you. I've been prejudiced against black people and Hispanic people, and everybody has, I'm sure you've been prejudiced against people as well. I don't give a fuck. Do whatever the fuck you want. Alright. It's love and unity, not to replace a white man with a fucking black man. That is not fucking unity. Yeah, you can go ahead, shake your head, I read the white privilege book, or whatever the fuck else you want for Unity Spiritual Center. I don't give a fuck.
Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and highest honors to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Chakadash. Double honors to the apostle elders of Great Millstone that rule well. And salutations to you brothers that preach, teach, and prophesy this word in truth and sincerity, and to put our lives on the line in these last 2 days to awaken those of the elect. This is the brother Ariaga from the Grand Rapids, Michigan camp, here with another interesting lesson. And this one is going into this guy right here, which, yes, he is an Asian. And if you're familiar with the bill that's been passed, the anti-Asian hate crime bill, something to that effect, where if you come up against the Asian, call them out of their name or randomly attack them, they can say it's basically a hate crime. You know, with that being put into orientation, now you have a situation where it's a reverse situation, basically, and the Asians doing a hate crime to a child, shooting a 6-year-old, trying to hit him with a sledgehammer. Thank the Lord the child can move and run. He's trying to bust his head with a sledgehammer. Then he goes into his house and shoots out his window and shoots the boy and hits him in his arm. And days later, released on a $10,000 bond, which they easily put up, and they tell him not to go back to that neighborhood. Hold on. So the situation is switched up, because when they do a crime too, which is obviously a hate crime, and we have always had hate crimes, if so-called Negroes, Latinos, or Natives done to us, they can call you a nigga to your face, and it will not be considered a verbal hate crime. They had to do a lot of things for it to be considered a hate crime. Whole lot of crazy shit. But now, that white person, so-called white person, Asian person, can walk up and punch the shit out a so-called black man or woman or child and call him a nigger. And they can get off as it not even being a hate crime, but vice versa, that's a hate crime. And this is something that's been happening to us in this country. This isn't nothing new. Out of every country that we've gone into captivity under, primarily here in America. Alright, so it's not even a double standard. It don't even make sense. That's just a one-sided thing. You know, back when we found out that, you know, some videos ago on a different page, we had discovered that, I forgot what, I think it was Chicago PD or one of the police departments somewhere in the U.S. would take the target practice dummies and take pictures of black inmates, take their mug shots and put them on the targets. You know, and this one black cop basically resigned and told on them. You know what I'm saying? And leaked it, exposed it. But the thing is, when that stuff is done against us, these things aren't considered hate crimes. You know, Michael Jai White on Vlad TV, on a Vlad TV interview, brought up a good point. He said, you know, you continuously have people, as soon as they started saying, well, we don't follow Black Lives Matter because we understand that the roots to that organization is very wicked, so it's BS. But when they started yelling Black Lives Matter, first thing so-called white man started yelling is all lives matter, and then blue lives matter, right? But then when you have a movement for the Asians and violence against them, which I do not condone it, you know, it's messed up, it's crazy. Yet I will say that this has been happening to us, and it's only increased in these days. And no bills have come out as such for us, but nonetheless, you know, you go and you do these to an Asian individual, you know, they get all kind of punishments, even so-called white men, if they do it to them. Now, if like I said, if these two nations do it against us, it's not, and even if it's a blatant hate crime, that will not be charged as a hate crime. Okay? And this clearly was a hate crime. Yes, he had a deep problem with this little boy. And it was most likely, I guarantee it's because of the color of his skin or the nationality of his race. Not to mention, when you sit here, look at him. Then this lady had the nerve. The reporter had the damn nerve to ask if it hurt. You know, when we saw Goodbye Uncle Tom for the first time, which is a banned slave movie. It was once banned from the U.S. They went in the barn castrate one of the Negro slaves, right? So-called Negro slaves, and they was gonna castrate him with a knife. And she said, or they were gonna cut his nuts off. And this ugly Dutch woman gets in it. These niggas don't feel no pain, you know. And that was after, even with the gynecology, the field of gynecology and how they practice on so-called black women, natives and Latino women, mainly black women, and slavery, gave you your whole gynecology system today without any anesthesia, you know, because black people don't feel any pain. They mongoloid beasts, you know. So for her to ask that, you know what I'm saying, that just shows to me a natural disdain for our people, even when you take a sympathy on them, you know. And as an example, let's go here. Man charged with hate crime after verbal physical assault on family of Asian descent. Alright. He said the incident started when the kids wouldn't stop petting his dogs. And one of the points I was just going into is the fact that all he had to do was say some verbal stuff and allegedly attack them. And that's a hate crime. Here it is. So-called black boy is trying to get smashed. He's trying to smash him with a sledgehammer. And then shot him. You know what I'm saying? With an intent to kill. He wasn't aiming for his arm. A man has been charged with a hate crime after verbally abusing and physically assaulting a family of Asian descent while on vacation in Florida. The incident occurred at approximately 4:15 on Thursday, June 10th, on Okaloosa Island on the Florida Panhandle, about 40 miles east of Pensacola, when witnesses say a 54-year-old Forney, Texas tourist Wade Anton reportedly told a woman and her child to go back where they came from. We're constantly told that every day. Yeah, they'll tell us to go back to Africa to be in general. No hate crime. And then made a racial slur against them. Then they'll call us a nigger, according to the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office. So am I saying this is wrong? Of course. That devil was out of pocket. Nothing less than what they always do to us, though. Authorities say that Anton told the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Department the incident began because the woman's children were petting his dog and supposedly ignored him when he asked them to leave his dog alone. The situation allegedly quickly escalated from there after Anton allegedly made an incendiary remark to the family. The woman's husband says they were all initially separated by about 25 feet during the verbal argument, but Anton ran around the park railings and began punching him repeatedly, says the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Department in a statement on social media. He told deputies as Anton was running towards him, he pulled a handgun to protect himself. People who witnessed the altercation reportedly were able to separate the two men and nobody was seriously injured. Bet you he would use that handgun if it was a so-called black man. Anton, however, has now been charged with the hate crime related battery, according to the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, and he's being held by the Okaloosa Department of Corrections on a $10,000 bond while he awaits a hearing. So trying to crush and shoot them, a 6-year-old, that is a $10,000 bond. This is a $10,000 bond. You see? But the seriousness of him shooting and trying to crush him, he had the intent to take his life. Yet there was no hate crime. This is Jeremiah 15:5. For who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem? Remember, Jerusalem is a people before a place. Or who shall bemoan thee? Or who shall go aside and ask how thou doest? And the question, or the answer to that question is no one. Not one of these nations care about our plight. It's been happening so long, a lot of them have grown accustomed to it. And they say, well, what about the George Floyd situation where people over even in Greece were protesting? You gotta think they were already at their ends as well. Their reason for protest wasn't primarily because a so-called black man got strangled in the streets. It was because the brutality of his murder and the fact that the police did it, you know, in such blatant disregard for his life. If you look at the riots and the things that have been happening all over the world, you will see that every country has been basically dealing with things like that. But that was the final straw, you know. But nonetheless, when it comes down to it, nobody gives a damn about us as a nation. Just because you have a Black Lives Matter sign or flag or shirt, or you say you represent it, doesn't mean anything to us, for us, because all the proceeds to that and all the support for that is really going towards George Soros and 3 women that he put at the head of that, 3 homosexual black women. That's their business, that's what they do, but nonetheless, it had nothing to do with households and men and children and straight household. It had nothing to do with these things. So the hardest thing for our people to see is that no, nobody gives a shit about us, but why is it that way? Read that again. Jeremiah 15:5. For who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem? And who shall bemoan thee? Or who shall go aside to ask how thou doest? Lamentations 5:1. Nobody. Lamentations 5:1. Remember, O Yahweh, what is come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach. Our inheritance is turned to strangers, and our houses to aliens, because we're kicked out of our land, all right, which is Israel. Starting in the Roman campaigns and conquest of the Vespasian dynasty, all the way down to now, to this very day, because this country was forcefully taken by the so-called white man from the Native American people, all right, and the Latinos. So even when they came and inherited this land, it was taken from them. Their houses, our houses, it says our houses to aliens. You know, it's not talking about some extraterrestrial creatures. It's just talking about foreigners. Somebody who wasn't originally there. Lamentations 5:3. We are orphans and fatherless. Our mothers are as widows. The so-called black, native, and Latino household are the most affected by being orphans and growing up in a fatherless household. Okay? As an example. Lamentations 5:4. Ye have drunken our water for money. We have drunken our water for money. Our wood is sold unto us. And hey, just like I was saying with the so-called Native Americans. Alright, from the tribe of Gad, they got to pay for their own water and wood. And that was here, and they harvested that and did these things with these materials for free because this was their land. And that was taken from them, and now they're forced to buy it like, you know, from a foreign invader. You forced to buy that. That's embarrassing on your own land. You know, that's shameful. It says, our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest. We have given the hand of the Egyptians and the Assyrians to be satisfied with bread. Alright, because what they did was they gave their obedience. Egypt or Egyptian goes back to Mizraim. Mizraim is the original place that they called Egypt. That was its name. Egypt was changed by the Greeks because loosely translated it means bondage. Loosely translated. And the Assyrians, and this is also known as spiritual Sodom in Egypt, America is, to be satisfied with bread. Okay? It says, our fathers have stirred and are not, and we have borne their iniquities. Because on a deeper level, you know, back in the ancient world when we kept transgressing the laws, statutes, and the commandments of the Most High, you know, that's when it really came into play. And found out that we, as a people, are in captivity in America to this very day. And this is also being called spiritual Sodom in Egypt. We basically are, you know, most of our people are given over into this kingdom. The customs of this kingdom, the ways of this kingdom, 2/3 of our people have become one with this kingdom, intertwined with it. Hell, they even fight for it. Okay, so those who are in full servitude of this place, you know, they don't see nothing wrong with the things that's going on. Lamentations 5 and 7, our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities, because your forefathers are on a deeper understanding through reincarnation. We are our forefathers. The Lord said He will visit the iniquity of those every third and fourth generation, to those that hate Him, in Exodus. And so this is why you see certain individuals come back and just go through pure hell. You know, reincarnation is a very real thing according to the scriptures. All right, and this is why we're bearing the iniquity of our forefathers to this very day, because we are our forefathers. You know, same spirit coming back in reincarnation in a new body, bearing these different sins that we're worthy of for transgressing His law, statutes, and His commandments. Servants have ruled over us. There is none that doeth deliver us out of their hand. If nobody came to deliver us, going back to Deuteronomy 28:68, and no one shall save them. Why? Because once again, we transgressed against the Heavenly Father continuously. Okay? And He got fed up with that. Baruch 3 and 8. Behold, ye are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from Yahweh our power. Alright? So we took on those same sins and iniquities. Once again, a lot of those things come from being in our past lives. This is why you have individuals born and it seems like they just can't make it, or die early, or have different mental impairments or retardations, you know. But that's a lesson for another time. The point in being that it says we are yet this day in our captivity. We never left this captivity. To emancipate means to transfer over. So the emancipation of the proclamation had nothing to do with freeing us as a people, but we were transferred over into a different form of slavery, which is financial slaves. Alright? says Psalms 83 and 5, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacle of Edom and Ishmael. And right there, it said they consulted together. The nations are confederate against us. It's always been that way. So it's nothing new now. Okay. This is Psalms 83 and 6. The tabernacles of Edom, Ishmaelites, Moab and Hagarenes. Edomites being so-called white people. Ishmaelites being the Arabs. Moab, Chinese, and the Hagarenes is the Hamitic tribes. Cabal and Ammon and Amalek. And I know Amalek is the Japanese, Ammon is the Japanese, and Amalek is the so-called Jew. Alright, or the Khazars. The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. So all of these are the biblical names to the nations that represent them today. And the proof of it is how confederate they all come together to be against us. You know, it's something that never changed. Okay? Isaiah 14 and 2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So we waiting on the Lord, because that's the only time that that's going to be possible for us to fulfill, is when the Lord comes back. All right. So we look forward, because he who taketh into captivity shall go into captivity, and he who killed with the sword must be killed by the sword. Here, the patience in the face of the saints. Okay. So when it comes down to it, we are always oppressed as long as we're still in this wicked kingdom. That's why it has to come to an end. Okay. But until then, we have to endure. But the reward is great and it's worth it, because they will be in subjection to us in the end of this wicked kingdom, in the beginning of the Lord's kingdom. So with that, I pray you edified. Until the next time, Shalom.